I was kind of heading in this direction anyway, before the incident at the Papa Festival. You know, um, there were a lot of problems going on, or in life, basically. I was getting it from all ends. And part of it was definitely my responsibility. But the lion's share of the responsibility um, resides on the existential. Um, yeah, I've been trying to get it together for a while. Shay and I were talking a few weeks ago, and he certainly met me at my worst and realized that there have been a lot of complications in my life, and I wrestle with my own demons just like everybody else. But after Starwood this year, I guess it was about a week or so later, he and I got together and we had a long talk. And, you know, it was just nice to know that someone in my life understood that I was working very hard at turning things around. A lot of things that happen to us in life, the loss of a child, a heart attack, you know, all these things that, really like lightning bolts out of the sky. And actually, there was one of those that went off 70 feet above my head. But, people have epiphanies, usually due to some wake up call. And, as I said to somebody, I just, was playing it like the snooze button. And then finally the wake up call came and I woke up. And I want to stay awake. Um, Change is a very difficult thing. And, as progressive as I am politically, I realize how set in my ways I am about a lot of things. Um, I always laugh at New Year's. People give these New Year's resolutions, and I laugh even louder at Lent. While people are claiming they're going to give up this or that, you just don't follow through. I think that inspirational resolutions work far better than standing there like an idiot saying that you're going to give up something that your friends know you have no intention of giving up. But this is a different kind of resolution for me. I mean, my family history is on my father's side, most of them die young. It has a lot to do with the heart conditions. And I remember saying, one time that, my family are a bunch of hardworking, hard living, hard drinking, um, people. And, that certainly has a wear and tear factor. But the fact is that my heart has been biologically fucked since I was a kid. Um, the Navy didn't pick up on a few things. I survived that experience. And served with honor and distinction. Um, and that was a great time of my life. I know that surprises a lot of people, but you know, it, I mean, the friends that I had there, a lot of them have remained a part of my life to this day. Um, the other things that you go through with the grind of the job and everything else, I've gone through my life in different stages. And then some sort of epiphany comes. And then I'm stuck with the consequences of that. And you add into it, I mean, in my 30s, I wasn't the most ethical person in the world. And the problem is, something happened and I grew an ethic. And there's your first problem. And ethics are like the mugwai in Gremlins. You water them or feed them at all, and then all of a sudden more and more ethics start popping out, and you have ethical dilemmas. The fact of the matter is, in my life, regardless of reasons, especially excuses, I have fallen into, or did, a depression that lasted for years, and I'm pulling myself out of it. I don't have much use for psychiatry. With all that I spent over the years, I could have bought a Maserati and I would have been better off with it. But you know, it's important to have people to talk to. Um, and it doesn't necessarily have to be somebody professional. But this year, I really started reaching out to my friends and asked, the very critical question: what is the problem with me, and how can I fix it? And that's really what I've been getting to. I was talking with my friend Marty, um, about where my head is at right now. He's a college professor, and you know, I'm never going to, you know, be grateful to this crazy dude that poured the accelerant all over me. But at the same time, the 5 days in intensive care and everything else was really a wake up call for me. I've had a couple of transformations in my life which have been pretty radical, and I think that this one is going to be the most radical of all. I'm not going to lose my sense of humor. I'm going to be there for people. And for those that, try to draw on my energy and I give advice to, and they listen, and then they go out and don't put anything into action, I'm going to do less and less of dealing with that kind of stuff. If people have real and genuine problems, I don't have a problem sitting down and talking with them. I am somebody that needs to be better at looking after my friends because they have done such an extraordinary job of looking after me. Um, I am going to try, when facing ignorance, to go about it with grace and dignity, but I'm standing my ground. And, if they conjure the venom, they're going to get it. But no longer with degrees of hatred, um, just lesson giving. I am getting back into the swing of writing every day, and it's something that I'm going to continue to do. And it is one of those things that I absolutely have to put my foot down with people. I need that time and that space to keep myself healthy. Um, I often tell people, you're an artist or a writer when Mrs. Philosopher Muse Poet calls you in the night. It's a winter night and it's cold in the room. The heat's down. You're under the goose down comforter wrapped up with the yummiest person you've ever known. And all of a sudden you get the call from the heavens, from the goddess of Muse. And she puts a line in your head or an idea in your head for a painting. If you don't honor her, and no artist can ever be faithful because your first wife is Mrs. Philosopher Muse Poet, yada, yada, yada. If you don't pay homage to her, you will indeed need psychiatry. I am definitely putting my life in a more spiritual direction than it's ever been in. I am chasing my bliss, and I am challenging myself to look in the mirror every day and change what I can. Because I really don't want to come back to this life. As much as I've loved it and really feasted on it, enough is enough. So anyway, that's my 2 cents for what it's worth. Thank you for listening and have a wonderful day.